Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Stoke Hunters, where we journey through the tales of resilience, joys, and the pursuit of good days. Today, we're venturing into the snowy realms of inspiration and transformation. Today, in episode 10, we're thrilled to welcome Erin Holt, a middle school teacher from central Alberta whose passion for skiing transcends the slopes. Erin's story isn't just about gliding on the snow, it's a narrative of courage, empowerment, and the impact one individual can have on a community. So gear up as we welcome Erin Holt to Stoke Hunters and explore how she's carving new paths and inspiring a generation to seek their own good days. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, Jared.
So, how is it down in central Alberta right now?
Oh, a little chilly, a little snowy, but we can always use more snow.
Yeah, it's always good on a pow day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why don't you give a little bit of backstory of how you got into skiing and what you're doing in central Alberta for your school and everything?
Okay. Well, the story how I got into skiing is a pretty entertaining one, to be honest. My husband was skiing, or I guess he was a snowboarder at the time, and I decided that I would like to, get into skiing too. So I bought us a season pass to Nakiska one June before I even knew how to ski. I didn't even own skis, and I was like, surprise, we're gonna ski this year. And so we went out, and in our conversations about going skiing, I had told him that I had been one time when I was 12, but he misheard me and thought that I'd been skiing since I was 12. So off we went to Nakiska, and it was like not even checking, like, do I know how to stop, turn, anything? It was just an assumption that I did. And we got to the chairlift and we went to the very top of the mountain. And then I was like, you realize, like, I don't know how to ski. And he was like, oh, okay. So a lot of, like, we'll call it snow plowing, but probably, like, a lot of crying, awkward way to make it down. I remember that it took 2 hours and 45 minutes to get down that run the first time. So I'm like pretty pleased that now I can do it in like 5 minutes and change. So it's like, a pretty good improvement.
Just a little
But
bit.
yeah, but he said to me at the end of that first day that he was pretty sure, he didn't say it to me, but in his head that he thought there was no way I was ever going to ski again. But he was totally wrong, because even though I was crying, I was seeing like other people around me were having a really good time. And I just wanted to be a part of that. And I thought, I don't know how yet, but I probably can figure it out. And so, that was kind of the beginning of, we'll say the takeover of my entire personality, where skiing is like basically all I think about, all I talk about. Like, I'll be sitting here and Curtis will be like, what are you thinking about? And I'll be like, it's like skiing. I don't
Tips
know.
as you can.
Yeah, like ever see that meme that was like when your entire personality is skiing? And I was like, so many people sent that to me and were like, it's you. Yeah.
Well, it's wild that it's become your whole personality, and it hasn't been that long that you've been doing it.
No, this is my seventh season skiing. And like, I'm not joking. Like, all summer, I'm working out, getting ready for ski season. I'm hiking and doing trail running on crazy things so I can have, like, better tolerance to exposure. And it's all full circle just to go back to ski season and what I can do the next year.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
mountain bike in the summer?
I wouldn't say really. I loosely cross country bike,
Yeah.
no downhill or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that because I just got into mountain biking last summer, and I found out apparently I'm a mountain biker because when you do 100 kilometers in a week, you're that sport.
All right. There
But
you go.
yeah, the downhill on a bike, especially like because like for skiing, it's like, oh, you wipe out. It's like soft and fluffy. On a bike, when you're standing upright and just fall over, rocks hurt a lot more.
Yeah, I can actually concur with you very much on that. I had a heck of a mountain bike accident in July this year where
Oh
I was
well.
biking with my dad, and I was being a little too confident. I'm like, oh, we're just riding pavement. I can let her rip. And I was probably going 50, 60K. And I just endoed the bike, bent the handlebars, ripped the cassette off, shredded my arm. It's like still, I can kind of do a plank on it, but it doesn't feel great. So it was funny. I said to my friends after, Well, wiping out skiing now is going to feel so minor after that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always nervous because when I run into my mountain bike friends, they always ask me, they're like, "Have you had your wipeout yet?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
they're like, "It's not if you'll wipe out, it's when you'll wipe out."
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So since we're on the topic of Stoke hunting and hunting good days, what does a good day to mean to you?
Oh, I mean, like a really good day to me is just basically any day that I can be outside in nature, preferably on skis, but I love it if it's, just on my own 2 feet running. But a good day to me is like a day outside, challenging your body, having laughs with your friends, sharing that experience with other people. Sometimes being the person who is bringing the person along on the experience, but I've also been on the other side where like I'm the one who's being lifted up by the person who's helping me. And I think that's like the really beautiful part about the outdoors community is you really meet all of these people who want you to be there. They want you to be part of the space and they'll help you do that. And so, I've had people mentor me and lead me to those good days. And now that kind of is bringing me to full circle. Like, I want to give that back and help give other people those experiences, that same kind of good day.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
you're probably like, you have your little ski hill in Innisfil.
Mhm.
Was that going before you got into skiing, or did you kind of pick that back up?
No, this ski hill has been going, I can't even give you the exact date, but let's say like back into the 60s, maybe even earlier.
Oh, wow.
There's a family in town, the Jackson family, who have just gone above and beyond to keep the place open, getting volunteers to be there, organizing things, working on the board of directors. So I got to know Brent Jackson, who's the president of the ski hill, just, from living in town. He's a pharmacist. And we just started kind of talking about skiing when I'd see him at the pharmacy. And then I would say about 3 or 4 years ago, I started nagging at him about like, hey, do you think like there'd be a way that the school could use the ski hill, this. And I kept kind of coming back to it every year. And then I circled back around and was like, hey, Brent, I got my ski instructor. What do you think about if I start to run this program at the ski hill? And he was like, how about you join the board and then we have a deal? So, yeah, I got involved with the board last year and it's been very fulfilling. Just seeing the value that having a facility like this in a small town, but it's so accessible and affordable because it is volunteer run that we really get kids out skiing. But the kind of kicker was, and I don't know if you can relate, I had parents who didn't ski, they didn't do outdoor things like this, and they were, baseball players and hockey players. And so I didn't have access to skiing. It wasn't something that I ever even would have thought of doing. And same for a lot of the kids in our community, right? If your parents weren't skiers, and it traditionally is a very expensive sport, you just don't get to do it. And so my thought process was, okay, I can get involved in the board and at the school level, as their teacher, as their phys ed teacher, I can actually run every single kid in a grade through this program and then offer them other opportunities in the following years. So we have a community of skiers and it's already started to happen. Like last year, so like we're volunteer run, we were open Wednesday, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday, depending on volunteers. But my husband and I basically worked every single Wednesday night, and it was incredible for us to see, like, just kids coming through rentals, coming up the tow rope. It was a grade 5 student, a grade 5 student, a grade 5 student. Oh, they brought their family out. And we just saw a big grow in our community of people who are excited to be at the ski hill and wanting to be a part of the ski hill. And I'm just really optimistic that with this year, it will continue to happen. Like, we already had my principal went and got his ski instructor so he can help. One of our education assistants did. I put out a call asking for parent volunteers and I got like 20 people like so easily. So it's been really good. We're just really receptive to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's kind of like the one thing I've seen with like my in-laws from Rocky is like, when you're from a small community, like they just show up and back stuff so fast. And like, yeah, that's amazing to hear.
Yeah, it's great to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like from a city, you don't see it as much. Like, you'll have your communities, but it's like it's like getting everyone out, or like getting like it's way more than like one or two or like three. It's like
Yeah.
huge whacks of like percentages. So how many people have you seen, like, can you count, like, how many more students have come out skiing because you've, like, started being on the board and everything?
No, I couldn't give you like a real number, but like we put around 85 kids through the program last year, and you know, the majority of those kids had not skied before. A handful had, like maybe 10 or 15 across the group. But like I think, sometimes on a Wednesday night, like we would have like 125 or 150 people out. And if you think about a town of 7,000 people, I know that also includes people coming in from surrounding areas, but that's a lot of kids. And the majority of them, I could walk out there and name every kid by name. So they're going to our school.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Have you, being a skier and your whole personality of being skiing, have you come across the video of Vibe called Whitewater?
No, I haven't.
So it was a video about Nelson and like their skiing town and
Okay.
like how everything got built. But the thing that always sticks in my mind is 7,000 of them. The city, the city or the town has 10,000 people. 7,000 of them have a season pass every year. So I could see it after a few years. It'll be like a Vibe called Innisfil, and they'll just be like,
Yeah.
80% will be skiers.
That'd be a really great thing to have. It's actually a joke. Part of how this all started was when I was at the first Free Ride World Tour. They provided me with a guide, Kevin Yardis. I don't know, to me, he's a pretty big deal. Like, he's a legend. This guy like guides Cody Townsend on the 50. You just see him like pop sick tricks off the side of stuff. He's not even trying. Like, this guy is unreal. And so he's guiding me around, and we were talking about Innisfil and the ski hill. And Kevin actually grew up in Red Deer, and so we were talking about that. And we made a joke about the Innisfil Free Ride Club and me producing the first free ride champ. And then I went home and I was like, but why couldn't I? And so that's actually kind of where the idea to get the program came from, because Kevin was like, why couldn't you do that? And I was like, why couldn't I do that? And so I went ahead and did it. I mean, we don't have a free ride club yet per se, but I do have a little girl last year who told me her dream is to become a professional skier. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was she one of the, like, 'cause you had some of the free ride world tour athletes come to your school, right?
Just one, Jessica
Yeah.
Hodder. I got super lucky on that one. And just when I was at the Free Ride World Tour that year, we made some new friends, and one of them, her name was Georgie, and she was actually the other contest winner that Peak Performance selected. And so she came up from Squamish with her boyfriend Tyler, and Tyler actually knows Jessica through, he's Australian, she's New Zealand. I'm not quite sure where, but they know each other. And he brought her over to meet me, which was a really sweet thing to do. And so, and she's so nice, like so nice and so funny. And I just like had a great time talking to her. And like, well, as the tour was going on, the kids that I was teaching that year were like making them like we only did it for the female ski athletes, but we would make them cards and send them videos before each competition with like messages for them and stuff like that. So she was already kind of familiar with the kids. And season wrapped up, she became the world champion. I was like, Jessica, that's pretty cool. She was living in Fernie at the time, and I was like, hey, if I spotted you some gas money, would you come up here and talk to these kids? Like, these kids were literally watching like the Free Ride World Tour at Snack. It was something we were doing like almost daily. They were so into it and cheering for these people, like these athletes. And so she said that she would. And she didn't even want gas money because she was on her way to Edmonton to catch a flight back to New Zealand. So we just kind of played it by ear that, on the day that she knew she was going to be coming up, she'd let me know and we'd get ready. And so the kids were hilarious. They were so excited. They like cut this red carpet out of construction paper and taped it together and had it all rolled up so that when she walked in, they unrolled it. And they cut like these little snowflakes and they're sprinkling them from a ladder on her head as she came in. And they had all these banners made and this like little paper crown that said world champs only. And it was just like the sweetest, purest moment for them and her. Like, she just started crying. She's like, I've never had a reception like this. And it was wild. She stayed the whole afternoon, signed like an autograph for every kid, took a picture with every kid, answered all of their questions about, becoming a skier, and how does she do the things that she does. And it was a really incredible day. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I'm always impressed with what kids can do for creativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to figure out how to continue kid creativity into adult life, but that's a whole other
Totally. Well, I don't know. I just tell the kids all the time, like, you don't have to be a good grown up. You just have to be a responsible grown up, right?
And responsible is such a great word. Like, just don't be an asshole on this, but like, go jump off a 30-foot cliff if you want to, or go have some wildness to you. Like, just be a good person at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally.
So can you share a moment when skiing transformed a bad day into a good one?
Oh, absolutely, I can. But I think I have to take a quick second. I see my AirPods are dying, even though I fully charged them. So I think I'm going to have to switch you over to regular speaker really quick, and
Yeah,
then
no
I'll
worries.
answer that question for you. Sorry, Jared.
No problem.
Oh. Okay, can you hear me, Jared?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry, could you ask the question one more for me?
Yeah. Can you share a moment when skiing transformed a bad day into a good one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So honestly, I feel like any day that I go skiing is a good day, just because even if I get up in the morning and I'm not sure that I want to go today, or I'm not feeling, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling grumpy. As soon as I put my skis on and I'm out there, it's just this automatic feeling of this is amazing. But also, we can have bad days that, later when we think about them, maybe days. Right? And so I, like, for myself, I think about, there's many where I'm crying a lot. Like, we joke, like, sometimes the inside of my goggles are stained with tears because I put myself in challenging situations, and it doesn't feel fun, right? But it's like that type 2 fun. And when you finish it and you look back on the fact that, this was challenging, it was pushed my had to be resilient, had to use the tools in my toolbox. You can help, right? Like, it's a, tiny or a big challenge that you're facing that you can choose to overcome, and you can go back and try to do better. And so, that's a, right, where that what doesn't feel comfortable eventually.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit. I don't know if you're too far away from your mic or not, or just bad internet connection.
It could be both. Is that?
Yeah, that seems better.
I'll just try.
Oh, there, a little bit of cutting out. That's okay. So what do you look at runs and then you're like, I want to hit this next year, or I'm going to hit this at, like, after a few more days? Like, do you have runs in your repertoire that you're like, I want to hit this eventually?
Or ones that I've skied maybe only once or twice in my life, know that it got the best of me, and I don't want it to end that way. And so I'm hoping to settle a score with a few things that came this year. This is like horrifyingly embarrassing, really good story. So like, the first year that I went to horse was only my 4th season skiing, but I would say, like, my 2nd season, like, actually, off of doing other things. And when you come off the gondola at the top and you can go on that, I think it's like this bridge line, and it takes you over to where T1 and T2 are.
Yeah.
So I have a thing for cat tracks, and I don't like them, and I never have, and I'm getting better at them and more comfortable with them. They're always, I kind of get how to. And so we get off the gondola, and we'd already had this conversation about I don't like cat tracks. I'm like, we're going over there, and he's like, yeah, we're going over there, and pretty steep and winding, and drops off on both And I was like, oh, okay. But like, I really wanted to go to the competition, so I had to ski over it. I had to go there. And so we went down the first pitch, and I don't even know what happened, but I like caught an edge and I tipped over it. And to me, I was going, 100 kilometers an hour towards Canada, and I'm going to knock him over the ridge. We're both going to die, and it's all my fault. And I'm like, Kevin! And like literally, Jared, he said I was like going like so slow. He just reached out a hand and gently stopped. And I was like, oh, that was a close one. He said, no. Better. I can do that again. But last year I didn't get to settle the score because then they switched it. They put it on ozone, so I had to make my way down the side, which is a whole other thing. But this year I'm determined. I'm going to go back. I'm going to, actually ski it, not slide it.
100%. Yeah, the kicking horse has some intense cat tracks.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Like cat tracks where you look back on them and you're like, that it might be one of the steepest things I've ever done. This is a cat track here.
Well, and even the one under Stairway to Heaven to then get into the bowl and everything and go across the ridge. Like, I remember when I first started skiing, it's like, I'm just going to straight line this because if I try to stop or try to avoid people, I'm going to get hit. So I'm like, I'm just going to go straight. But there was so many times where I was like, if I caught an edge here, I would have died.
Yeah, it was wild last year because you were like trying to ski up on that ridge and people had already set up to watch the competition from the top, right? And so we sat up there for a little bit and then we decided we'd ski down to the bottom. Slash top locked, but I made it. So
yeah. So being a grade 5 teacher, how do you encourage your students to find good in every day?
I guess like mostly it's attitude, right? I try to model for them being positive and that, things can suck, but we can always try to find ways to be better or think about how the situation is in the long run. As a phys ed teacher, I really try to help them find their thing. We do a lot of different things in my class because I know not every kid is a sport kid, not every kid is a soccer kid or a skiing kid. But I work really hard to try to expose them to all these different ways that you can be active for life. And it's really empowering. It feels really good when you help them do that. Like I've had students who maybe never really felt like they were an athlete, they were active. And, with some work we found, actually track and field was a thing. Want to join like club track teams or, kids who they don't even know worse people. That's, pretty nice thing that maybe by a lot of days, they start to look for ways to do it too. And I would just say the other thing is I really model to that like we're a classroom that we don't always have to like the other person doing, but we have to respect. I try to see that. I just want the kids to be good people and to be around people, but all it's a good day.
100%. And then in that regard with teaching, how do you balance the passion of teaching and skiing? Like it seems like with 13 days, you go out quite a bit.
Challenging. I ski pretty much every day. And so I wasn't joking. I have to be really organized. Right? So, all of my all that has to happen during the school week. Like any, grown up chores, you have to do your laundry and all that stuff. And just a really organized person is probably the number one. So I have like help program. He also volunteers. It drives me everywhere to everywhere that I want. Like an incredible support. So just one person always to be able to.
Sorry, you were cutting out a little bit there, so I missed a little bit. But so with being a teacher, and you get to interact with how big's your class size?
This year my grade 5 classes were 24, grade 6.
So you get to see 24 individuals, which is probably a lot more than other people see on a day-to-day basis. How do you think seeing different people all the time and teaching has influenced your perspective on good and bad days?
I think when you're a teacher for you know a lot of and understand the places that people are. The more we know about each other, the more that I think it helps us all do it. Able to make them feel welcome. So I think it's the real value of again, and I found like I've known, and they have I know. And then you get to their practice that they're excited about, and you for them. I like volleyball. I don't love volleyball, but a lot of the girls in school love volleyball, and they really needed it. So I got involved with that. Grade 5 volleyball because they just need help be there. Right. That's the with right. They see me living my life. That's really exciting.
So with skiing, being in 7 years, brain fart, parent brain apparently. But can you share a story of how getting into skiing and, now it being your life has helped you overcome a personal challenge?
Oh, well, yeah, totally I can. So, yeah, this is kind of another interesting about me. Actually, like, really scared of it. It's a problem, hilarious for things that I choose to do. But I think that whatever I'll go for rock climbing, crazy face. Like that's not how it goes, but you break it down into small measurable goals and achieve, and you just get and like the challenges of having to look at one of your sit in your to be in a position have to right or I really am very scared. You can the goal that you're trying to
Sorry, you were cutting out there.
Right.
Maybe if we, I just want to put you back in the green room, and then I'll bring you back out and see if that fixes it. Okay, let's see now.
Okay, is that any better?
Yeah, that seems better. So sorry, I missed a little bit there. But yeah, the stuff I picked up is definitely where, you know, you have to do it in small measurable, like little stuff to get you. Because yeah, a lot of big goals seem pretty like Everest. It's like, you know, you don't just climb Everest, you go up and down until you can get to the very top.
I think like sometimes they're not. And so I think it's always to just keep moving towards the
So sorry, I'm putting mine on. I'm turning my camera off to see if it was my end, because they're still cutting out a bit. But let me. Is there a way? Because yeah, I wasn't doing it with your AirPods, but I don't know.
Grab another pair and it'll work better.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh no problem.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think so. No cutting out yet.
Okay. Okay, then let's try these. They say they have 68%, so maybe that'll be better.
We only got half an hour left.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Rural living too, like, yeah, internet is not always great out here.
What do you use for internet?
I have no idea. Something Shaw.
Fair. My in-laws switched to Starlink because they're out on an acreage just south of Rocky, and that night and day difference, because before it was like, I'm pretty sure it was slower than AOL dial-up back before, and then now it's like high speed and nice. So it's I know the rural internet joys. So for skiing, what do you think your favorite simple joy of skiing that brightens your day? Like one little thing that you do that always makes you smile.
Oh, the second that I'm just like on the chairlift and I see the mountains around me, I literally say this every time. Whoever I'm sitting next to, I turn and I'm like, we're so lucky. Like, we're so lucky we live here. Just every single time. I could go 100 days in a row and I would say the exact same thing because it gives me the exact same feeling. Yeah.
100%. And it's funny you say that we're so lucky to live here, because I think a lot of people don't realize like what's in our backyard.
Oh yeah. And like, we're so lucky. People literally save their whole lives to come here. And I get in my car and I go to the place that, you know, they're dreaming of. It's their, you know, their Mount Everest, so to speak. Like, we're so fortunate.
Well, like when I was mountain biking, I was going to a lot of events this summer, and driving through the pass, I decided, like, now with, you know, losing my mom and seeing that life's short, I kind of take life a little bit slower. So I stopped at Rogers Pass Information Center, and that, you know, I'm pretty sure like 95% of Canadians have probably, like, actually I'd say 95% of Albertans and people in BC have never stopped at that when driving through. And the coolest thing that I found was like that there's a whole like bunch of women mountaineers back in the day who used to guide everyone around there. And I'm like, this is wild, because like all our products are named after women and stuff. So I'm like, this is kind of like such a wild coincidence that, you know, there's women who like, what's the word, discovered there, like, you know, they were like mapping it and doing everything and guiding people through it. So it was cool to see. But before, like, I had driven past that, like the center, I think probably 100 times and never stopped. And then this summer I did, and it's like, you just learn so many cool things that you don't appreciate until you take the time to do it.
Oh, totally. Like I had a similar experience this summer. I was up at Mount Assiniboine and we were staying at the Naset Huts, and they have this huge book in the cook shack about the history of Mount Assiniboine. And it was like fascinating to look at it, and same thing to see how many female mountaineers and explorers were like out there that we've never really heard of. That when you think about like in like the 1900s are like scaling these peaks in like not the equipment that we have today. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, they'd have like a stick and maybe a backpack, and then now
a woolen sweater. Yeah.
Now we have Gore-Tex and like down layers and everything else.
Totally.
So after a challenging day, what's your kind of favorite way to unwind? Is it to get out to the hill, or is there something that you do beforehand?
No, I would say like definitely it's doing something outside. So in the winter, it's absolutely skiing. Like I live for the weekend when I know that I can just go blow off steam and be outside and use my body in a great way. And then, you know, in the summer, I would say it shifts more into hiking and trail running. I've gotten really into endurance sports in the last few years, just for myself. Like I don't have any desire to race or do any big events, but I love the challenge of deciding, you know, for myself that I'm going to go out and run the skyline in a day or something like that. And that's lots of fun too. So I just think anything that I can do to get outside in the fresh air, preferably where there's less people and I can really push my body. It's like almost meditative to me.
100%. There's something about fresh air that just like clears the perspective, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, and just like you get your body moving and you get that fresh air, and then at the end of that day, you usually have a great sleep, and the cycle continues.
Yeah, once you're tired out, then it's like I remember my first time skiing Fernie. I was like 13 or 14 when my stepdad and mom took me out, and like I'd never skied a mountain before, and I'm like so excited. And then skied like a huge day, went back to our little townhouse condo thing, and was like, we were about to go to the hot tub, and I like laid down and then just fell asleep at like 4:00 in the afternoon.
That was a really good day. Yeah.
So with, you know, skiing for the last 7, and, you know, you had been teaching before then, how have you seen skiing influence your teaching philosophy?
Oh, that's a really good question. I do kind of feel like the introduction of skiing kind of just brought more passion into my life. And then from the more passion into my life, it was like more creativity of how I can give those feelings back to kids. Right. And so, like I said, it doesn't all have to do with sports and skiing, but finding the things that light kids up and trying to bring those experiences to them. And no matter what I'm doing, right? Like math, well, math isn't that exciting, but can I find a way, some way that relates to this current group of kids that lights them up, whether it's just a series of silly jokes that we have that go with what we're doing, or allowing them to explore a different creative way of showing me what they know or learning about what they want to know. I think that kind of goes hand in hand, right? Where when I'm thinking about, okay, how can I take the things that I love and put them in my life more, you think more about how you could do that for others too.
100%. It's like when you have a passion to do something, it like time kind of doesn't exist anymore. Like if you get into something, it's like, you know, all of a sudden you're doing like 12, 14 hours on it, and it's like, oh, 2 minutes passed by.
Yeah, totally. Like, Wednesdays when I'm teaching and then I have ski program and then I come home and I go back to the ski hill for 5:00, like that day flies by, but I wouldn't want to change it. Like that's a really great day where I've got to spend, from noon to 9 o'clock at night doing something in my community that's helpful, you know, helping kids get out and have a good time, getting some fresh air, being involved in the ski community. It's, you know, an amazing thing.
100%. And when you get to share your passion and give back, it's like, I don't know, it's addicting. Like that feeling of helping others, it's like amazing.
Yeah, you know, anytime we do something good for other people, it helps give us a good feeling. And it's really nice when you get to see it face to face, right? Like it's not just like making a donation online to something that you think is important. You get to see the reaction of joy on that person's face, and it's very fulfilling.
So what would you say is your favorite story about an unexpected good day?
Ooh, an unexpected good day. Oh, that's a big question. Oh, I don't know. I just like have so many flowing through my head. You know, trying to think about like what, like really almost any day is an unexpected good day, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't know what you're going to get when you get out in the morning, and
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way. Like, you know, we're not promised today. So like whatever you make of it can make that good day. So I guess in that regards, what's been your best day in the last month or so?
My best day in the last month. You know, I had a really awesome day last Wednesday. Curtis and I went over to Kimberley to go see a cousin of mine and her husband and their little boy. And it was our first time going to Kimberley, and not a lot was open. But just going to ski with this 8-year-old kid who was so stoked on skiing and also Star Wars and knows that I love Star Wars. And all he wanted to do was ski and talk about Grogu and, you know, the Mandalorian and what episode of Star Wars I thought was better than which one and what I thought about this Lego while we were skiing. And it was honestly so much fun. It was an amazing day. So I'm going to go with that one.
100%. And it's always like kids, I think, give us the best perspective because it's like we sometimes get into our own mind where it's like, oh, it's not going to, like, you know, one run will be open and like grass everywhere and we'll be like, this sucks. And then you'll see like the 5-year-old kids and they're just like hipping and hollering and just having a blast.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, he was so cute.
So what do you build Lego too then?
Oh, no, I'm terrible at Lego. So I wanted to be good at it. I had a very considerate friend who brought me the Mandalorian Lego advent calendar a few years ago. And I like on the first day went to go put the thing together, and I'm not even joking, like it probably should have took me 10 minutes and it was like an hour later and I still did not have this thing together. And I was like, I need to bring in an expert. So I had a grade 5 student that year who's my neighbor and a good family friend, and I said to her, Eva, do you think you could come over after school and help me build some Lego? So Eva came over after school. And, you know, we started with the one door, and then we thought we might as well just do them all. And she couldn't believe it that we were going to do the whole advent calendar in one day. But I thought, you know, I have you here now. And so the even funnier part was she would give me a package and then she'd look at it and she'd go, no. And she'd take that back and then give me another one. You do this one. And it would be like putting the head on a body. It was like, that was all I was capable of doing in her eyes, was like, put the head on the body. She'll take care of everything else.
That's hilarious. That's so funny. So can you share a point in your life that changed your outlook on good and bad days?
Yeah, I guess like that's another really big question. I would say first changing my perspective on good and bad days. I would say like maybe 6 years ago-ish. I was having a pretty challenging time just like in my career and just personally, and definitely was like dealing with a little bit of mental health struggles. And so a time where maybe I wasn't really looking at days as good days because they didn't feel like good days at that point in time. And when we have challenges with mental health, it can be hard because, you know, we feel like other people judge us if we talk about it, or we might be viewed as, you know, being weak or lazy or other things. And I'm like a pretty dynamic go-getter person. And when I'm struggling with something, it's not always easy for me to talk about or ask for help. And so I, you know, was at a point where I wasn't doing very well. And I had a previous vice principal that I really look up to and respect. Like, she's an amazing woman. And she just really had this perspective or attitude about, like, you have to take care of yourself. Like, your mental health is more important than anything, because if you can't be you, you can't do the things that you're good at. And so she really helped like encourage me to take ownership over that, and to, like, you know, I started seeing a counselor, and that was like super helpful. And like, just not being ashamed to be like, hey, actually, this doesn't work for me. This is something different that I need. And just speaking up and advocating for like what you need to feel good. And so that experience actually totally empowered me in my life, where, like, if I don't feel good about something, or something's not making me feel comfortable, I don't feel like I have to pretend anymore, that I can be like, oh, actually, I'm not feeling good because of this or this or this, or I can't come do that because I feel overwhelmed or burnt out. And just like modeling to other people that we don't have to be going like 110% all the time. We don't have to be, you know, perfectly happy all the time. But learning how to manage those emotions so that we can live in a good way and live a good life.
Yeah. 100%. And I think a lot of, like, especially now with the you know, in the way of the internet and, you know, the tech space blowing up, and, you know, everyone like a lot of more entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Like, everyone, like, this hustle and grind mentality that gets shown a lot is such a frustrating thing, because it's like, people, for some reason, we think like, oh, if I just hustle more and if I grind a little bit more, you know, I'll get there. And it's like, really the quickest way to success is to get to year 8. Like, if you look at any companies, like, maybe you'll see like one crazy company come out of somewhere where they'll do like something massive and take over the world. But for the most part, when we start hearing about like new companies and new things, like, these are 8 to 12-year-old things already.
Yeah. Okay, so then year 8, that next year is when I'm going to blow up and maybe make a ski film.
Yeah.
It's year 8.
Yeah, the vibe called Innisfil.
Yeah, the vibe called Innisfil. There you go. You gave me the title of the movie.
You'll just have 80% of the Innisfillians be skiers and snowboarders.
Yeah. It's like, in order to move to our town, you have to like come and ski run first. It's like the initiation.
You'll just see quads pulling people on skis.
Yeah, it's a new way to get to school.
Yeah. Well, that's what we did, I think, last Christmas or 2 Christmases ago. My sister-in-law's husband, he has a razor, and so we put a rope behind it. And it originally started as like pulling the kids around on a sled, and then we're like, hey, if I hold on to this, you can pull me on the skis, and then we can build this jump and then like launch ourselves into the air.
See, in Banff they use horses, but quad works too.
Ski joring.
Yeah.
I guess it'd be ski quadding.
Yeah, there you go. Squatting.
Or quajoring.
Quajoring.
So with your neighbor helping you with the Lego and everything, you know, and I think kids inspire us every day. Do you have a moment where a student has inspired you on a tough day?
Oh, you know, again, like, so many different kids that I can think of. Like, each one of them has their own personal challenge that they're going through, and I've seen so many of them, you know, meet those challenges head on and do the best that they can to overcome that, whatever it is. You know, like, the first ones that are popping to my head, of course, I'll have to do with skiing right now, because that's what we're talking about, you know. But there was like a little news story on CTV a few weeks ago, and 2 of the kids that they interviewed are 2 of the kids that I'm thinking of right now. one Kate where Kate is autistic and doesn't always embrace new experiences. And I'm very close with her family and also taught her older sister, and they're wonderful, wonderful people. And so I had taught her older sister, and Kate came in last year. And I'm really big on making my kids go for walks. Like, we try to go walk a kilometer a day. We spend time outside every day for the most part, unless it's like minus 25, because I think it's important, right, to move our body and be outside. And so the very first day we were walking, Kate told me that she couldn't walk around the block because of her autism. And I said, oh, that's interesting, honey. I'll make sure to talk to your mom and dad about that and see what we need to do. And so she kind of left it at that. And then she got playing sports, and I got her into volleyball, and her parents came in for parent teacher interviews, and I told them about Kate and that she couldn't walk because of this. And they just laughed and laughed and laughed. And they're like, well, that's because Kate's not an athlete. And I said, well, Kate didn't used to be an athlete, but this year she sure is. And like, that kid played volleyball, she played basketball, she played badminton. She totally got into skiing, and like actually came skiing at Nakiska with me and a couple other kids one Saturday. Just totally put herself in all of these new big situations. And then this year, I'm not her teacher anymore. And she's still taking herself out and doing all of those things. Like, she's determined to play every sport, to try every new thing. And that's pretty cool, seeing a kid who like doesn't like change in any shape or form decide now that they can take on new things. They can put themselves in new experiences. And so that's pretty neat story.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one would be my boy, Zarek. He's just the kindest, just the nicest kid. And he wanted to ski so bad last year, and he came out on like multiple Wednesday nights and hadn't made it up the tow rope yet. And the first time that he did, everybody there knew how hard he'd been trying. That hill just erupted in cheers. Like, people were like, yeah, buddy, you did it. You got it. Yeah. And, already he's like, hey, when are we going again this year? So, it's exciting to see when they don't give up on something that in the moment it sucks. Like, I've been there where I'm like, oh, I really want to do this. But then when you get through it, you're like, actually, no, I really did want to do that because I feel so good now about what I just accomplished.
100%. When you get that, like, trick, you get that rope tow, you get that anything for the first time after you've been, gone up it, like been trying for like 50 plus times. It's like, yeah, that feeling's addictive.
It's a good feeling. Yeah.
So at your hill, do you guys have a little like terrain park too?
Yeah, just a teeny one, like a little rail, and I don't know, the kids usually make some jumps in there, but I think the last board meeting we were like going to be doing some work in there to make it a little safer. But like, not a huge terrain park, definitely a few things kids can hit and try.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom of one of the runs is quite a large box, which leads me to the funniest moment of the ski program last year. This one little girl is just ripping down the run, and she's coming up on that box, and she doesn't even tap the brakes, like just hits it full send. And as she's flying through the air past me, she yells, I think I made a mistake. And she somehow lands it and skis all the way to the end of the property line where the tips of her skis are underneath the fence, but she stops perfectly at the fence. It was amazing.
That's hilarious. Just kidding there. I think I made a mistake.
It was so funny because you could just hear every word. And I was like, well, it looks like you might have, but she landed it.
That's so funny. I need to, yeah. I feel like if you send anything fast enough, it's usually the better way than when you go too slow.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about kids though, right? They don't think about it. They're just like, let's go. Where I'm like, oh, I kind of need my leg tomorrow.
Can't show up to work on crutches.
Yeah, make my job a little hard.
I bet. Grade 5, they probably still have a lot of energy.
Yeah, they do. But that's the wonderful thing about them.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see. Oh, geez. There's so much. So, ski, especially with like, a tow rope. Is a tow rope the only thing to get up at the
Only
initial?
thing. Yeah, just the tow rope.
that basically, if you can do a tow rope though, you can do like any any lift.
Yeah, we don't start them off, going up on the tow rope right away, but some kids are on it soon. Basically, once they can do a few turns and they want to give it a go, they're welcome to try. But for a lot of the kids, the first day, it's just kind of a walk down to the bottom, ski. Like we're not starting at the top of the hill. We're just using the bottom quarter so that they can get started. So just a lot of like little walk up, ski down, little walk up, ski down. And then usually by day 2, lots of them are ready for the tow rope. And by day 3, very few of them aren't using the tow rope. We still have a couple who are a little slower, but I totally agree with you. Once you get the hang of that, and especially when it's icy, like you got some skills now, kids.
100%. So, some, like you were saying, like some take a couple of days to get onto the tow rope. How do you help your students who are struggling to find the joys in skiing?
Well, last year, kind of how it worked was we had them divided into groups. So kids who had previous skiing experience and wouldn't really need instruction just quickly had to pass a ski test, and then they would go ski with a supervisor. And then we just had the rest of the kids broken down into a group between just Curtis and I last year. This year will be better because we have a third instructor. And so it was basically just helping those kids feel comfortable with those first, like, 'cause the first time you get on skis, it's scary when you think about, you want me to slide down this hill on these things and I'm gonna what, right? Like they're not too sure about that. And I can totally relate. And to be honest, there's quite a bit of tears in the first couple of days. But where I'm lucky is like I already have pretty deep relationships with these kids by this time in the year, right? Like I've already been teaching them for 4 months and I see them a lot and they trust me. And so having that deeper relationship where I'm not a parent, right? So it's not the same as your parent, but it's somebody that that you can trust, I think is helpful when these kids are really scared because I can be there to talk them through it. Usually the kids who are really struggling and crying and scared end up getting filtered over to me. And I just share with them how I know exactly how that feels. I tell them about my first ski day. I tell them about I still cry. Like it's okay. And just like kind of working through that, it's totally okay to have emotions. It's okay that something's hard. But I think about one little girl last year, she struggled so much for the first 2 days. But when she finally got it, the pure look of joy on her face when she was just like, arms out, going down the hill, just the biggest smile on her face. And like, yeah, girl, right? Like you just worked through something that was really scary and challenging to you and you did it. And so I just think it's that positive support, the encouragement, and we're really lucky too. I have lots of volunteers around who like, if you're just not feeling it right now, Lynn's going to take you up to the lodge and make you a hot chocolate, you just need to do this for a second. Like we're so lucky with just community volunteers and parents who are there to help sweep up those kids to make sure that they're having a good time too, right? I don't want anybody to leave traumatized. I know they're not all going to want to still be skiers, but I hope that they remember those 3 days fondly.
100%. And yeah, it was on an Instagram account I saw yesterday, and it was talking about like kids in sports, and it was like, they were talking about quitting, and the person's advice was, you can't quit on a bad day. So if it's going to be tough, you got to come back to it. And then, when after you've done it, or you're having a good day, that's when you get to quit. And it's like,
totally. I saw that too. And I thought that was great advice, right? Because we all want to quit something on a bad day. Like that's how it is, right? But if you go back to a time when you had a good time, do you really want to quit? Like, I'm not going to lie. I've had moments when I've been skiing where I'm like, is this what and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is what I want to do.
Well, that 2 hour and 45 minute Nakiska run was probably I want to quit today kind of day.
Yeah, it was mortifying. It was like, oh, what an experience. But it was probably even more mortifying for Curtis. Like he had to deal with it.
How long had you guys been together at that point?
At that point, well, it'll be 10 years this year, so we would have been together probably three or 4 years at that point. Yeah.
That's dedication. There's a lot
Actually, I think we had just gotten married, and it was like our very first winter together being married. So we were newlyweds.
Here's your anniversary gift, taking me down a run for 2 hours and 45
Yeah,
minutes.
it's like a relationship strengthening exercise, right?
100%. So with ski, what's kind of been your most unexpected joy since you've picked up skiing?
Oh, I would say the ski community and just like the people that I've got to meet and who've been receptive to me and have included me in things and skied with me. It's just like, it's mind boggling to me to think like, okay, I'm somebody who like didn't ski 7 years ago. And like last year I spent an afternoon skiing with Leah Evans. And I was like, oh, this is pretty dope. Like someone I totally look up to, and here she is like helping me out, figure out, how to balance better on my ankles, and like what an amazing experience. Or just like when we went to the Freeride World Tour, and Georgie, the other girl who won the contest, we're really good friends now. Like we talk all the time about skiing. We nerd out about Freeride World Tour and whatever else. And we met up again last year. We flew out to see her and Tyler and Whistler in October. We're all back together in Golden in February. Just like the friendships and the excitement about, you don't get to see these friends all the time, but when you do, you know that you are just going to have the best time. Like we're going to be outside and we're going to ski, and sometimes it's going to be hard and I'm going to cry, but I'm going to laugh. And like at the end you come home and you just feel so fulfilled and happy. And like that's the best part to me, is just my friends that I've made. My first coach, Jeff, who I still ski with occasionally, he's going to be 69 in May, and like the dude can rip. It's insane. Like I couldn't keep up with him for a day if I wanted to. My other friend Lori, who I met in ski lessons, like we all get together and we still ski. I've reconnected with a high school friend where we meet up once a year for a ski trip. And so I think like the most beautiful thing that skiing has brought me is just like the friendships and relationships, and just a different way to experience those relationships.
100%. It's experiences that matter at the end of the day, I think.
Absolutely. Like we're very big on that in our household. Curtis and I are big on gifts. We're big on experiences, right? Like I don't care so much about living in the nicest house or driving the nicest car, but I want to have, a brain full of amazing memories of places I went and things I tried and people I met. And to me, that's where it's at.
100%. And new skis every year, but I don't care about my house.
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting new skis this year, but then I got really lucky, and Sparrow Outfitters gave me a new set of skis, so that's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah.
How'd you find them, or did they find you?
Kind of a mix of both. So I had just reached out looking about demo skis that I was just really wanting to try out a pair of Icelantics to demo. And I was asked to just send in my email to Scott. And so I did. And Scott emailed me back and just said, hey, like I represent these different brands. Would you be willing to be an ambassador for any of them? And so, we just kind of had a brief conversation about it. And I said, I'd absolutely be stoked to be a brand ambassador, for Icelantic. I'm looking for backcountry skis, so that'd be pretty great. Yeah. And so, yeah, he said he had a pair in his garage. And so when I was in Kimberley, I picked them up, and now I'm hoping to get them mounted in the next week or so and get out and give them a spin.
Nice. What are you going to mount on them?
I think I'm going to go with plumes, but I'm not sure yet. Yeah. I'll talk to the people at Ski Uphill and see what they've got to say to me about it. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not very experienced or knowledgeable in touring just yet, so definitely want to seek out some good advice on that one.
Yeah. I think I have 4 backcountry setups. I worked at Ski West when I was in university. So when you get pro deal and you get a free set of skis if you hit certain things, like I have way too many skis. I think I have like 10 pairs that I still keep in the garage.
That's a good problem to have. That's a good problem to have.
Well, especially when because I find like whenever you get on a ski, like it'll do some things really good and some things not so much. And there's never a ski to like do everything amazing. So it's like
Yep.
Probably one of my favorite skis in the spring is my front side carving ski. Because like those tight slushy turns and everything are so much fun.
Yeah. Well, Curtis and I literally just had this conversation last night about one ski can't do everything no matter how much we want it to, right?
Yeah.
And same thing, like I have a pair of Blizzard Shiva 10s that I normally ski. I love those skis. But when it's icy, like I've really been wishing for a pair of 82s lately, like so badly. I'm like, you know what I really need? Like, I don't know that I need powder skis over here. I really need a pair of 82s.
100%. So I guess we've kind of hit over the hour mark. What would be your message for someone who's struggling to find good days?
Someone who's struggling to find a good day. I guess I would say try to just reflect in yourself about a time when you did feel good, whatever that place, that moment, that thing is, and then see how you can maybe recreate that, right? Like when I think about, just being outside and feeling the sun on your face or feeling a breeze, like that's a good feeling, right? And sometimes just peeling back to like a simple thing that makes you feel good, right? Is it, the feeling of clean sheets, the smell of fresh coffee, holding a puppy, trying to take it back to the simplest form and start there. Because I know sometimes life can seem overwhelming and it might look like it's, cloudy and doomy out there, but there's always good things to look for if you just look for them, right?
100%. That kind of hit my whole perspective of, when I unfortunately got to see my mom pass away in 17 days, looking back on it, it's like, that the worst days of my life, but I'm now closer with my family than I've ever been, closer with my wife than I've ever been. And, the 17 days and the conversations my mom and I talked about, we never once talked about work. It was about experiences and enjoying the days. So then it teaches you to like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's like, don't sacrifice your 30s to get ahead and all that other stuff. Cause it's like, I could get hit by a car tomorrow. So what's the point of sacrificing everything if you didn't get to enjoy any of it?
Yeah. And also how can we know what good is if we don't know bad? And how can we know, what joy is if we don't feel sad? And we have to have that contrast of feelings to feel the good day, right?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, it sucks to feel the bad, but yeah, it makes the good feel so much more better.
Absolutely. And, also those times they do make us stronger. They teach us new lessons. They give us new perspectives in life. And, hard times are hard, but they can bring us beautiful things too.
100%. Well, I think that's a good note to wrap up on. So I appreciate you giving us an hour and joining us on Stoke Hunters tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jared. It was a lot of fun.
Hopefully we can get out on the ski hill soon.
Yeah, I would love that.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay.